Michael, Soothing here. Tonight what we're going to do is I am going to, look, this is all crooked. Yeah, that's because my head is not the same on both sides, okay? It's asymmetrical instead of symmetrical. Tonight what we're going to do is we're going to attempt to repair, this may end up to be a fail, by the way. We're going to attempt to repair this fluted bell. It sits on a thing, on a little stand, and the little glass part broke off that makes a loop here. So I'm just going to try to use a simple two-part epoxy fix. And if you say, why would you use that? Well, I've done some repairs in the past and had success with that. For example, this very elegant big vase here that's sort of carnival glass color. This one, you can see it had a fracture line up here, and I built up layer after layer of that two-part epoxy so that there would be carrying strength up here in the future, and it would be, repaired enough so that it wouldn't fall apart and split if somebody carried it by the handle. That worked okay, and maybe a more relevant example, we have this hanging vase here. Is it vase or vase? It sounds a little pretentious to say vase to me. So I think I'd rather say vase. Anyway, this was broken. People around here are tough on things, not me. But it's been repaired. And what was broken was one of these little round deals here on the side. That was busted off, and you can see I two-part epoxied it back on. So, and that worked. It's plenty strong now. I can hang it back outside on the deck and put things in it or whatever, So, what I'm going to try to do tonight is show you how I might repair this bell right here. Let's hope it works, because I don't know if it will, but I'm going to reorient the camera, and let's see if we get a fail or if we get a success, okay? Hold on just a moment. Okay, now I forgot to mention that if I succeed in this endeavor, then the reward is one of these Chips Ahoy double chocolate thin cookies. They're not very high in calories. How many calories are they? 140. I don't know how many cookies you get for that. Oh, it says here, per 4 cookies, okay? That's not too bad. So I get one of those if I succeed. And if I fail, then I'm just out of luck. Then I'll just sneak one when you're not looking. Okay, so basically I'm just using two-part 5-minute epoxy. This is the kind of epoxy where, and some toothpicks here. This is the kind of epoxy where it's not going to turn into a hardening epoxy until you mix it really good. So you put an equal amount of each type on this little paper plate or whatever you want to use as your mixing spot, and then you gotta mix it really, really good. Then you can apply it to each side of what you're trying to put together, which in this case, of course, I'm gonna rub our surface a little bit. It's already clean, but I want to make sure there's no residual oil or anything on there, because glass is particularly difficult to get to adhere. Okay, then I am going to figure out how this fits properly. It's a little bit of a puzzle. And if I don't get it right, it's never going to work, because I'm going to have to hold it in place for a while when I first put it on there. I think it goes like this. Yep, I finally found the key. It goes like this. So I don't get confused, I'm going to lay it over here in the orientation that I'm going to put it together. All right, so the first thing we'll do now is we will mix our epoxy. I'm using a DevCon. This is the rosin side clear, and this is the hardener clear, so you can see, yeah, hardener and rosin. We use this little paper plate so we can throw away our mess when we're done. Okay, so I'm going to squeeze out. We don't need very much at all, so I'll just squeeze out a dab. How much is a dab, by the way? I don't know. I think a dab is about that much, don't you? That's a dab right there. Okay. And now the trick is, we want another dab to be the same amount. So, whoa, that came out quick. That's about an equal amount, which is exactly what we want. Now, here's the mistake most people make when they use two-part epoxy. They don't mix it good enough. You need to really mix this good. I was in, as you know, the rocket science business, and the biggest mistake that we found when people used epoxies to attach important things like chip components in microcircuit assemblies was that they did not mix the epoxy long enough and well enough if it was a two-part epoxy. And we actually had failures occur, adhesion failures, for that very reason, on some very expensive devices that cost us a few $100,000 in delays and rework at the company I worked for. All right, so we're going to mix. And one of the corrective actions for that failure was we specified a length of time that the operator had to mix this stuff. We said, do not mix that for less than 60 straight seconds. All right, now, we're going to apply a little bit of this to our fluted bell glass end here. And I'll get confused if I don't leave it in the same orientation. So I'll put a little bit. And this is going to take a few minutes to get tacky enough to adhere without any kind of exotic clamp or anything. So I'm going to apply it to one side like that. Okay, it's not going to drip on me. Then I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to apply a little bit to this side, like this. Very carefully. Now the really tricky part is yet to come. I'm going to get this to fit on here properly. And then this is the boring part. I'm going to have to sit here and hold this for the next 5 minutes or so until it starts to clamp and form a bond, because I really don't have any kind of clamp that I can use to hold this, a weird shape like this, in place. I'm looking at it here and I can see that it will work if I'm very, very patient. And so that's what I'm going to be, is ultra patient. I can usually exercise pretty good patience. I think the exception is when I'm driving. When I'm driving, I become a crazy maniac. In California, everybody's in a big frenzy in the Silicon Valley, a big rush, with work and the commute, running your household, competing with everyone. But here in Oregon, now that I moved here, everyone drives at a snail pace, a very, very slow pace. I'm generalizing, of course, when I say everyone. I might be able to do this by putting it up like this, and it might stay for me now, so that I don't have to sit and hold it the whole time. Yes, I can get it to stay. And once I feel that's adhered really well, as you can see now, it will sit on its own right there. It's sitting on its own without falling off. Once it adheres very well, within about 5 minutes, I'll put a little pressure on it to make sure that it makes a very good bond. And then I'll add a little supplemental support, say tomorrow, once it's fully cured. And voila, we will have a fluted bell that can once again hang on its little stand. Now, where was I? Oh, driving in Oregon. Yeah. When you drive up here in this state, the speed limits are really low in towns. Sometimes it's 20. In Coos Bay on the main drag, for example. And then what they do is they try to trap you. So they'll have a speed limit sign of 55 on Highway 101. Then it will drop to 40, and then 30, and then 25, and then 20. And they figure somewhere in there you will make a mistake, and the guy will be sitting there with his radar gun. So everyone is so paranoid up here, or so laid back, I don't know which. They legalized dope recently anyway, that if the speed limit's 55, some people will drive about, say, walking speed, right? And so a California driver like me wants to scream and pound my fist and kick the floorboard. But instead, I say to myself, wait a second. I'm retired now. I don't have to rush anywhere. I don't have to be someplace in a hurry. Why not just mellow out and get laid back and drive relaxed like everybody else? So that's what I'm learning to do, and that will bring down my blood pressure, I think. But there's a part of me that still feels like a sense of entitlement If the speed limit says 55, you should be going 5 miles over, not 20 miles under, right? So that's just me. Is this stuff hardening up yet? We can tell because, see this toothpick that's in my mix? It's starting to stick. It's sticking now and holding on. When it is fully embedded in this epoxy and doesn't want to budge, then I'll know that I have pretty good hardening going on this bell that we're trying to fix here on this glass eyelet that's on the top there. I don't want to touch it right now because it's still in the process of curing, and I don't want to disturb it until it's almost fully hardened. Then I'll put some pressure on there to make it adhere even better, and that will make a very good bond. And then I will instruct my family member here who's staying with me to stop knocking things over and breaking them. Okay, so especially delicate items like this. So yeah, well, she didn't break this thing. It was already broken. I'm doing an inventory of things that, well, I'll explain that in another video because it's a very sad topic for me. So we'll address that in some other video about items that I'm taking care of and dealing with. But meanwhile, I can see this is not going to be a fail. And that means I get to have, wait, which orientation is this for you? Is this upright? I can't tell. It's going to make a big racket though, I know that. So I'm going to carefully peel this back like that. Somebody got into this already. I wonder who did that. It must have been someone else in the family. Does that look yummy to you? It's not a thick cookie, see? It's very thin. And if you have a thin cookie that's sort of like a wafer, then you can eat more of them without feeling bad. Since I have a success and not a fail, I'm going to crunch on this cookie over this. See, now this is a multi-purpose dual-use plate. I suggest if you try this at home, don't put the cookie in the epoxy because it's very toxic. I'm being careful. I promise. The two are not intermingling in any way. I know you're cringing right now. Don't deny it. But I promise you, it's all under control. No toxin was ingested in the making of this video. No animal testing took place, and everything else is very well controlled per current standards of highly ethical behavior. All right, so let's have a sip of water now to wash down that very delicious Chips Ahoy cookie. I want to read the ingredients. Double chocolate. There's a lot of ingredients in it, as you can see. It's got 8% of your daily iron, 6 grams of fat. Don't need that necessarily. 13% of your daily allowance of saturated fat, so we have to be careful there. It's got enriched flour, not bleached. We don't want bleach in our flour. It's got niacin, thiamine, iron, riboflavin, vitamin B21, folic acid, semi-sweet chocolate chips, high in cocoa butter and cocoa and chocolate, milk, salt, soy lecithin, vanilla, sugar, canola oil, palm oil, cocoa. Why did they list that twice? Salt, they also listed that twice. Lecithin and baking soda. You know what? That's a pretty good list. I don't see a bunch of artificial stuff in there. So these are pretty natural here, I think. And this is a very lightweight package. You know, it only weighs like an ounce. So you say to yourself, let's see how much. Oh, it says it's 7 ounces. Okay. This thing says the battery's dying, so I gotta go. But I hope you like this video. Don't ASMR and drive. And subscribe and thumb up if you like the video, and we'll do more. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.